was born on February 2nd, 1732 in West Grand, Virginia. In my childhood, I was busy playing games and helping my family on the farm. When I was 7, I started school into a one-room schoolhouse. When I was 11, a very sad thing happened. My father died. When I was 18, I learned how to ride a horse. When I got older, I joined the Virginia Army. When I got my new family, I lived in Mount Vernon. They were happy there. But life in America was not easy. The British king made the American colonies pay higher taxes, and he passed laws the people did not like it. I wanted to fight for America's freedom. Many people agreed with me. I was a brave leader. I made my army believe we could win over the colonies. America was free. After the removal, I still had important jobs to do. Finally, after 8 long years, the war ended. I became the first president of the United States of America. I was president for 8 years.
I am Jackie Roosevelt Robinson. I was born January 31st, 1919. I was the first African American to play Major League Baseball. I played for the Dodgers and the Kansas City Monarchs. I love sports. I played track, baseball, and basketball. I went to college at UCLA. I was drafted during World War II. I was voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. I died from heart palpitation on October 24th, 1972.
I am Dr. Seuss, and I was born on March 2nd, 1904. I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. My real name is Theodore Seuss. My mom and dad called me Ted. I had a big imagination. I liked to tell stories and draw pictures of silly animals. I went to Dartmouth College. I wrote for the school's newspaper and magazine. After college, I drew cartoons for magazines. I changed my name to Dr. Seuss so I would seem more important. I wrote my first book in 1936 while on a ship. I wrote a story to match the rhyme of the ship engine. In the 1950s, some people thought many children's books were boring. They wanted better books to teach children how to read. I changed the way people wrote books for children. I wrote many more books like Green Eggs and Ham. When I grew older, I even wrote a book for adults called You're Only Old Once. It was my last book. I died on September 24th, 1991 in Valhalla, California. I was 87 years old.
I am Sally Ride, and I was born in California on May 26, 1951. Growing up, I was a bright student. I loved science and math. I graduated from high school, and I thought I might want to become a professional tennis player. I responded to a newspaper ad that NASA was looking for astronauts. Over 8,000 people responded, but only 25 people were hired. I was the first woman to work the robotic arm. I was the youngest of all astronauts. I rode the Challenger in space. I also had to become an expert in space travel and all the controls within the space shuttle. I had 7 crew members. When I went into space, I had to wear a space suit. The flight lasted 147 hours. and sit down successfully. I also went on another mission called STS-7. Both missions were successful. I later became a champion for science education and a role model for generations. I died on July 23, 2012 from cancer. I was 61 years old.
I am Johnny Appleseed, and I was born on September 26, 1774, on a farm in Massachusetts. As a boy, I liked to play by myself, take long walks in the forest. I studied plants and animals that I found. I was poor and often walked barefoot even in the winter. I wore old clothes and carried a sack of apple seeds. I read the Bible often and I helped settlers plant their own apple trees. They were grateful to me because they could eat tasty fruits all year long. I loved to laugh and tell stories and I always had time to play with children I met along the way. I traveled to many states over 50 years. I planted trees in Ohio. I died in Fort Wayne, in Indiana. On March 18th, 1845, I was 70 years old.
My name is Muhammad Ali. I was born January 17th, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky. From an early age, I was filled with energy, loved to talk, and was always on the move. I was the fastest boxer on my feet. When I was boxing, my punch was so fast. I got a gold medal in the Olympics. My real name is Cassius Morales Clay Jr. I have been married 4 times and have 9 children. I'm a famous boxer because I was a world champ. I won my first fight because I trained for 6 weeks. I ran 4 miles to increase my speed. I worked in the gym 6 days a week. By age 17, I had won several championships in Rome. I won 3 fights. I then fought for a gold medal in the Olympic and won. I had several different trainers before I met my final trainer and met mentor Angelo Dundee. After my retirement, I remained a popular sports hero and helped raise money for charities. I used my boxing skills to win fame, but what matters most to me is making people happy and sharing my faith with people around the world. I died on June 3rd, 2016 in Scotland, Arizona.
Hello, I am Jane Goodall. I was born on April 3rd, 1934, in London, England. As a child, I lived in a town by the sea, and I loved exploring outside. I loved animals especially. I always wanted to go to Africa. I read about it in my favorite books. When I was 23, I visited Africa. I loved it there, especially I loved the chimpanzees. I began to study chimpanzees and I learned that chimps have families and friends, just as humans do. They feel happiness and sadness. They play games, they hug and kiss and go to war. These discoveries made me famous. Chimpanzees are endangered species. I wanted to protect them in 1977. I created the Jane Goodall Institute. Its goal is to protect and study chimpanzees and their homes. I'm 87 years old and I am still working with chimpanzees.
My name is Neil Armstrong. I was born on August 5th, 1930 in Ohio. My love for flying started at a young age when my father took me to an air show. From then on, my goal was to become a pilot. At the age of 15, I got my pilot's license. I applied to become an astronaut in September of 1962. I was selected for the NASA astronaut program. I was actually the first man to walk on the moon. Millions of people watched me walk on the moon on TV. My footprint is still there. I passed away on August 25th, 2012 from heart complications.
Hi, I'm Milton Hershey. I was the owner and founder of the Hershey Bar. I was born on September 13th, 1857 in Derry Township, Pennsylvania. I attended 6 or 7 different schools. I left school to work as an apprentice to a candy maker. I was not successful right away, but I worked very hard. In 1893, I went to the Columbian Exposition in Chicago, Illinois. A German company was showing how to make chocolate. At the time, it was a treat for only rich people. I wanted to share it with everyone, but first I had to figure out a good recipe. I began to experiment with making milk chocolate in 1895 when I was 19 years old. I decided to open my own candy business. I borrowed money from my aunt and uncle to get the business to open. I opened the shop in the big city of Philadelphia. I had all sorts of candy products. I also sold nuts and ice cream. Unfortunately, no matter how hard I worked, I couldn't figure out how to get my business to make a profit. I worked harder and harder, but soon I ran out of money, and had to shut my business down. I wasn't one to give up. I moved to Denver, Colorado, and got a job with a candy maker where I learned that fresh milk made is the best tasting candy. I then opened another candy shop in New York City. This shop failed too. I once again started a new candy business. This time I would specialize in making just caramels. My caramel company was a huge success. I had to open up new candy making factories and branches all over the country. I was now a rich man, and then I started the Hershey Chocolate Company. The first chocolate items I sold were cocoa powder and chocolate-covered caramels. In 1898, I married Catherine Kitty Sweeney. In 1900, I introduced the Hershey Bar. That same year, I sold my caramel company for an amazing $1 million. I started building a new factory in Dairy Church, Pennsylvania. I chose Dairy Church because it was close to dairy farms. The dairy farms supplied fresh milk for my chocolate. The Dairy Church is also close to the ports of New York and Philadelphia. I put all my efforts into making chocolate. I wanted to make a huge chocolate factory where I could mass produce chocolate so it would be both delicious and affordable for the average person. People thought I was crazy. However, I didn't care. I went ahead with my plan and built the town of Hershey, Pennsylvania. It had lots of houses and a post office. It had lots of houses, a post office, churches, and schools. The chocolate company was a huge success. Soon my chocolates were the most famous in the world. In 1907, I created Hershey Park as a place to have picnics. I later added a playground, a swimming pool, and a zoo, and a bowling alley. There were also rides. Today it's a large amusement park. I continued to work until I was 80 years old. Then I died in Hershey, Pennsylvania in 1945.
I am Rosa Parks. I was born on February 4th, 1913 in Alabama. I am from African ancestry. My mother was a teacher and my father was a carpenter. I had one brother. When I was a child, my parents split up. I lived with my mother. We moved to Pine Level, Alabama with my grandparents, and I grew up on a farm. I attended country schools until the age of 11, and then I moved to the city's industrial school for girls in Montgomery. I learned about sewing, but I had to leave the school to attend to both my sick mother and grandmother. At the age of 19 years old, I got married to Raymond Parks. He was a barber. Raymond and I did not have children. After my marriage, he supported me and I earned my high school degree in 1933. I was born when blacks were treated unfairly. Blacks and whites were treated differently. On December 1, 1955, I was arrested and put in jail. I was arrested because after a long day of work, I refused to give up my seat to a white person. The bus driver called the police and they came and arrested me. I wrote a book called Rosa Parks, My Story, which was published in 1991. I received many awards for this book. Cleveland Avenue in Montgomery was renamed for me. It is called Rosa Parks Boulevard. I passed away on October 24, 2005. I died at the age of 92.
Hello, I am Helen Keller, and I was born on June 27, 1880, on a farm in Alabama. When I was just 1.5, I became very sick. My parents thought I would die. A few days later, the sickness was gone, but the sickness left me deaf, blind, and unable to speak. My parents realized I needed a teacher, so they called a teacher for deaf and blind people. Her name was Annie Sullivan. One day, Annie took me out to the garden to the water pump and pumped water into my hand. And on the other hand, she spelled the word W-A-T-E-R, water. That is how I learned to understand words. I wanted to learn more and more words. In May 1888, I went to Boston with Annie, and I learned to read Braille. And then, using a special Braille typewriter, I wrote some stories of my own. And then I met another teacher named Sarah Fuller. She wanted to teach me how to speak with my mouth. First, I moved my hand over her face. I felt her lips and tongue when she spoke. Then I tried to copy it with my mouth. I tried to make a sound. My first sentence was, "It is warm." I had been accepted to Radcliffe College. I was an excellent student. I majored in English and German at college. I graduated with honors. I was an amazing person. Never had a blind and deaf person accomplish so much. I was proof that anyone could do almost anything. Even people who have physical problems or handicaps can reach their goals. I died on June 1st, 1968. It was just a few more weeks before my 88th birthday.
I am Nathan Hale. I was born on June 6, 1755 in New London. I have 7 brothers. I am a teacher. I am a great athlete. I am in the military. I was a spy in the Revolutionary War. I died at the age of 21. I died on September 22nd, 1776. I died by being hung by the British. I was famous for my last words. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. Here are some more facts about me. My good friend was William Hull. 5 of my brothers served in the military. Only I died during the Revolutionary War. My body was buried in an unmarked grave, probably in New York. After my death, my family built a memorial. the inscription on the memorial. He resigned his life, a sacrifice to his country's liberty in New York, September 1776.
Hello, I am Sacagawea. I was born in 1788 in Lemhi River Valley, Idaho. I'm a part of the Shoshan tribe where my dad was chief. When I was 11, I was kidnapped by the Hittita, and then I became a slave of the Hittita tribe. My name used to be Grass Maiden, but the Hittita tribe renamed me Sacagawea. Sacagawea means bird woman. 5 years later, the Hittita tribe sold me to a French-Canadian trapper, Toussaint Charbonneau. I later became his wife and had a son named Jean-Baptiste. My husband, Mr. Charbonneau, I met explorers Lewis and Clark, which were sent by President Thomas Jefferson. Then my husband, Mr. Charbonneau, and I joined the expedition of Lewis and Clark, and we found the United States of America. There is not an exact date for my death. Some people believe I died on December 20, 1812, aged 24, and others believe I died on April 9, 1884, aged 95. I was a hero because throughout my life and through the Lewis and Clark expedition, I showed exceptional bravery and selflessness.
Thomas Edison by David Sen. Hi, my name is Thomas Edison. I was born in Milo, Ohio, 1847. In school, I daydreamed a lot. My family soon moved to Port Huron, Michigan, where I spent most of my childhood. My middle name was Alpha, and my family called me Al. One day, I saved a child from a runaway train. The child's father repaid me by training me as a telegraph operator. I did not invent the first electric light bulb, but I made the first practical electric light bulb that could be manufactured and used in the home. Menlo Park, New Jersey is where I built my research labs. I may be the greatest inventor in history. I have over 1,000 patents in my name. There were a lot of employees working for me at Menlo Park. These workers were inventors too and did a lot of work on my ideas to help turn my ideas into inventions. I was a businessman. Menlo Park is the first business or institution with the sole purpose of inventing. I also invented other items that were needed to make the light bulb practical for use in the home, including safety fuses and on and off switches for light sockets. I said the word to Mary Had a Little Lamb as the first recorded voice on the phonograph. I was practically deaf. I was so busy working I did not have time to think about getting married. However, in 1871, when I was 24, I met 16-year-old Mary Stillwell. I liked her right away. Then I married her. My first two kids have the nicknames Dot and Dash. The phonograph was the first major invention by me and made me famous. It was the first machine that was able to record and play back sound. I died October 18, 1931 in West Orange, New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Neil Armstrong. I was born on August 5th, 1930 in Wapakoneta, Ohio. I am an astronaut. As a kid, I loved space and planes. I was the first man to walk on the moon. At the age of 15, I got my pilot's license. 600 millions of people watched my first walk on the moon on the television. My footprint is still on the moon. This would mean the first man landed on the moon. I died August 25th, 2012 in Cincinnati, Ohio, of a heart attack.
Barack Obama by Nicole Norris. Hi, my name is Barack Obama. I was born in August 1961 in Oahu, Hawaii. When I was 10, I went to live with my grandparents. I loved to play basketball. I played on my high school team. My teammates called me Barry O'Boone. I worked as a civil rights lawyer. I was a law professor at the University of Chicago. I also got married to Michelle Robinson, who was also a lawyer. I also had two daughters named Malaya and Sasha. In 2008, I became the first African American president of the United States. On November 4th, 2008, I won the election. I was the 44th president. Before I became president in 2009, many people have lost their jobs. I worked to create more jobs. In November 2012, I won the second term as president. I also spoke out for laws that would give everyone equal rights to get married. And yes, I am still alive.
Jackie Robinson by Joseph Rose. Hi, I'm Jackie Robinson. I was born on January 31st, 1919. I was born in Cairo, Georgia, and moved to California. As I grew up, I got better at sports. When I was in college, I played basketball, track, and baseball. I started in every sport I played. Most of my teammates were white and didn't like playing with me because I was black. After a while, my teammates started respecting me because I respected them. From Pasadena, California, I fell in love with Rachel Isom, but I had to join the Army during World War II. Later, I married Rachel and we had 3 children. Then in 1947, I began playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers as the first black major league player since 1884. I was the most valuable player in 1949. I played for the Brooklyn Dodgers for 10 years. In 1957, I retired. The Brooklyn Dodgers retired my jersey number 42 in 1972. No other Dodger could wear my number. In 1962, I was the first African American to reach the Hall of Fame. In 1984, I was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Ronald Reagan. I died in 1972 at the age of 53.
Hi, I'm Frederick Douglass. I was born February 1818 in Cabot Country, Maryland. My mother was a slave. I lived on a farm. Soon after my birth, my mother was sent to work on another farm. I didn't know my dad. My mother died when I was 7. Then I lived with my grandparents. When I was about 7 years old, my grandmother took me on the master's farm. My grandmother didn't want to leave me there, but she had to, what her owner said. About 2 years later, I was sent to Baltimore, Maryland to work. I heard stories about the city. I was excited to go. In 1820s, growing up as a slave was very different from growing up as a child who was free. In Baltimore, I worked for Harold and his wife. Mrs. Auld started teaching me how to read. When I was 15, I went back to the farm. My master had died. I had a new owner. I worked hard in the field. I was often treated badly. I tried to escape, but I was caught. Other slave owners were angry. When I was older, I got married to Annie. Annie and I moved to Newburyport, Wisconsin, Massachusetts. During the Civil War, I fought for the rights of the black soldiers. In 1882, Annie got sick and died. 2 years later, I got married to Helen Pitts. I died on February 2018 from either a heart attack or stroke.
Hi, my name is Helen Keller. I was born on June 27, 1880 in Alabama. When I was about a year and a half, I got sick with a high fever. I got better but lost my sight and hearing. I got yelled at when I was just a kid because I could not answer what my parents were saying. I was deaf and blind, but I got through it. I got a thing called a braille, and that helped me read words when I was a kid. I got a teacher, and her name was Annie Sullivan. Believe it or not, but my teacher, Annie Sullivan, was partly deaf and blind too. She got through it because she was smart and stubborn like me. Annie and I worked together for 49 years. She came to high school and college. I graduated from Radcliffe College in Massachusetts. People started hearing about the deaf and blind woman who could read and write. I used my fame to help others understand the lives of disability people. In 1924, I began working for the American Foundation for the Blind. I raised my money to help blind people get occasional and jobs. I also work to make Braille the standard system of reading and writing for blind people. I was featured on the Alabama State Quarter. I died on June 1st, 1968, at age 87. I hope I made the world a better place for everyone.
Mary Ball by Shanna Obama. Hi, my name is Mary Ball. I'm George Washington's mother. I was born 1708, and my son George was born in February 22, 1732. When George was 7 years old, my family and I moved to Ferry Farm. My parents had died and left me some land and 2 horses and also 2 gold rings. Most of my friends were married at 16 or 17. I still wasn't married when I was 21 years old. But then Augustine Washington came along. I married him on March 17, 1731. We had 5 children. One of those children was named George. I didn't know he would become the father of our country. We moved to Ferry Farm in Virginia. I was happy living there until her husband died. My son George had to be the man of the house at only 11 years old. After a while, George joined the army and was away from home a lot. I didn't like him always being gone, but he was stubborn. I got tired of taking care of the farm by myself, so I moved into a house next to my daughter Betty that George bought for me. I planted a garden and made my famous gingerbread for the children. In 1775, Americans went into battle. George was made the top general of the army. After the war ended, American won and wanted me to move into Mount Vernon with him, but I didn't want to have to dress up every day. In February 1789, my son was elected President of the United States. I wasn't surprised who else they would choose. In Augustine, I died. I was 81.
Walt Disney by Ali Hayden. Hi, my name is Walt Disney. I was born on December 5, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois. I had 3 brothers and 1 sister. When I was a boy, I wrote plays with my friends, but I loved to draw funny cartoons for my friends. There was a war going on, so I left school and drove in ambulance. After the war, I went back to drawing cartoons. My brother Roy and I started our own animation studio. I invented the characters Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Donald Duck. I met my wife Lillian at Disney Brothers Studio. We got married in 1925. We had 2 daughters, Diane and Sherry. In 1928, I made a short movie called Steamboat Willie. Mickey Mouse was a star, and it was the first cartoon to put sound with picture. Then in 1937, I made a first full-length movie. It was called Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. After that, I made Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi. I created the TV show, The Mickey Mouse Club. I wanted to build a place where families could have fun. In 1955, I opened a theme park called Disneyland in California. I called it the happiest place on earth. Then I planted another theme park in Florida. It was called Walt Disney World. I died on December 15, 1966.
Hi, my name is Abraham Lincoln. I was born February 12, 1809 in Kentucky. I lived in a log cabin. I left home when I was 22 years old. I wanted to learn the law. I also helped to make laws for the state of Illinois. I married Mary Todd. We had 4 children. We live in Springfield, Illinois. Springfield is the capital of Illinois. I joined the United States Congress in 1847 to make laws for the whole country. The people of the United States believed I was a very good lawmaker in 1860. They elected or chose me president. I was the 16th president at the time. The war began 1 year later. It was called the Civil War. At the time, slavery was allowed in the United States. I thought that slavery was wrong in 1863. I signed a paper called the Emancipation Proclamation. It freed all the slaves. The Civil War finally ended in 1865. Some people were angry with me because I ended slavery. One of those was John Wilkes Booth. On April 14, 1865, I went to see a play with my wife. Booth shot me and said to you. I died next morning.
Hello, my name is Martin Luther King Jr., aka MLK. I was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 1 brother and 1 sister. My brother's name is Alfred and my sister's name is Christine, and I like to dance. My dad was a minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. When I was 6, my best friend told me he was no longer allowed to play with me because he was white, I'm black. I was born in the 1930s and I went to Booker T. Washington High School. I skipped 2 grades and went to college when I was 14. I got a doctorate degree from Boston University. In 1953, I married Coretta Scott, and we have 4 children, Yolanda, Martin, Bernice, and Dexter. I led the Montgomery bus boycott. The boycott lasted for over a year. It was very tense at times. I was arrested and my house was bombed. In the end, however, I prevailed and segregation on the Montgomery buses came to an end. I went all over the country giving speeches. I talked about injustice and civil rights. In 1963, I helped organize the famous March on Washington. Over 250,000 people attended this march in an effort to show the importance of civil rights legalization. It was at this march where I gave my I Have a Dream speech, which became one of the most famous speeches in history. The rules did change in 1964 and again in 1965. Here are some facts about me. The statue of me in Washington, D.C. is huge. Its head weighs over 27 tons. I was the youngest person to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. My birthday is a national holiday. One of my main influences is Mohandas Gandhi, who taught people to protest in a nonviolent manner. In 1968, I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I was helping black garbage workers protest for better pay. But angry people didn't want change, so a man with a gun named James Earl Ray assassinated me when I was only 39.
Hi, I am Steve Owen. I was born February 22nd in 1992 in Upper Thorn Tweed Gully, Australia. When I was 6, my father gave me a 20-foot python. I moved with my parents as a child to Queensland, Australia. In 1970, where I attended Luxembourg State School and Cauldron State High School. In 1991, I met Terry Lane, American ventriloquist from Eugene, Oregon. We got married in 1992 and had 2 children, Bendy Sue and Robert Clown. Both of my children became TV personalities. My favorite animal is the saltwater crocodile. I started a show called The Crocodile Hunter. It started in 1996 and was later implemented on Amazon. I allowed audiences by the millions. I opened the Biographies reptile park in 1970. I also ran the Australia Zoo, which was voted Queensland's
top tourist attraction 2002. I grew up loving all wildlife, especially reptiles. I wrestled crocodiles and we placed them in a special zoo. I had an unfortunate sudden death on September 4, 2006, when we were filming a new solo snow plane at Fort Douglas, Queensland. My children still have a very successful TV reality series on Animal Planet. The show is called Quakey. I was 44 years old when I died. Harry Houdini by Eric Jones. Hi, my name is Harry Houdini. I was born in 1874. My real name is Irish Wells. I was born in Hungary. When I was very young, my family came to America. My family settled in Wisconsin, and we were very poor since we could not afford rent. We moved a lot and ended up in New York. Instead of going to school, my younger brother Theo and I had to work. My brother's boss showed him how to make a coin disappear. Theo then taught me the trick. I was 13. From then on, I began exploring with magic. As I became better with tricks, I told my mom shaped me, not magic, and quarters came out of me. I worked many jobs and trained every part of my body to do magic. When I was 17, my name became Harry Houdini after years of struggling. I finally became famous in 1892. My father died. I performed for President Teddy Roosevelt. I got $1,000 for performing. I am known for escaping handcuffs from a 75-pound ball and a wood box dumped in water. I learned how to be smart, strong, and sure of myself, and an excellent musician. I died on October 31st, 1926. I never told my secrets, so my legend still lives today.
Hi, my name is Pope Francis. I was born December 17, 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My parents were Italian immigrants to Argentina. I love playing soccer with my friends and family. I was interested in science. When I was a teenager, I started thinking about becoming a priest. I entered the Jesuit school in 1958 and earned a master's degree in philosophy in Buenos Aires province. I was a big fan of a popular dance called the tango during my pre-priest days. I studied to become a chemical technician. In December 1969, I was appointed as a priest and started serving as a Jesuit provincial of Argentina in 1973. Throughout my life, both as an individual and religious leader, I've been known for my humility, my concern for the poor, and my commitment to talk as a way to build bridges between people of all backgrounds, beliefs, and faiths. My original name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio. In March 2013, I was elected the 266th Pope. I'm famous for being the Pope. I'm still the head of the Roman Catholic Church. By Harper Kerrigan.